Occasionally, me and my homeboys get together and have a poker night. They've actually given me the nickname Red Bull because of the number of times I play such clever cards. Because in the aftermath of Abu Dhabi 2021, the world was told that one of the reasons that Max Verstappen was able to win that event was Red Bull's strategy. I mean, Martin Brundle was the first to tell us.
Red Bull played some clever cards with their strategy.
Thanks for that, Martin. What does Crofty have to say?
Max Verstappen and Red Bull played a clever strategy.
Thanks for that, Crofty. Johnny?
You know, Lewis had done such a brilliant job throughout that race, controlling it all the way through. But Max and Red Bull had been really pushing it with the strategy at the same.
Thanks, Johnny. Christian himself.
Screaming at him, let him race. That's what we've been talking about all these years, let them race. And this championship came down to the last lap. And a great strategy call,
Great strategy call. Okay. Who's this one? Paul de Resta.
I think what it came down to was Red Bull's strategy. Being on the back foot, on the back of that first lap move that didn't come off, that they went aggressive with strategy and they had better tyres at the end to capitalise on that.
Aggressive with the strategy. Okay. So, what we need to look at is a couple of events about strategy and clever cards. There's one that springs to mind was the Italian Grand Prix of 2022. There's Daniel Ricciardo in his McLaren, broken down on the side of the track. Oh no! Daniel Ricciardo has stopped on the side of the track. And how long will they wait? Will they let the lap cars through? I don't think it's absolutely mandatory. Well, there's bound to be a couple of racing laps. Oh, and it's completely changed the context of this situation. Let's see. Let's have a look who plays the clever cards in Italy 2022. And we'll look on data view. Firstly, it's yellow flags.
Whilst that McLaren is still stranded. It's not necessarily going to be a safety car there. I think Lewis Hamilton retired at that very point. Now we are going to get a safety car. So the top two have gone through. George Russell is now right at the entrance to the pit lane and has come into the pits. So
George Russell is playing some clever cards.
Mercedes have nothing to lose, they think, by getting George Russell into the pits. Will they do the same with Carlos Sainz at Ferrari? Yes, they will.
Oh, Carlos Sainz is playing some clever cards.
So Russell will hold position in third place, but if we get this race going again, George Russell is going to be on the fresher tyres behind Leclerc and Verstappen.
Yeah, this is potentially changing the complexion of the end of this race, Crofty, because Verstappen's 22-lap-old tyres, Leclerc 14-lap-old tyres. They haven't yet caught the safety car, have they? So could they potentially come in and out on the next lap? We've got to see where the safety car is.
Can we make a free stop?
Yes. That's what.
Oh, a free stop. Oh, Red Bull are going to play some more clever cards.
I was saying that, so they haven't yet caught the safety car. Verstappen coming up to the parabolica here. The safety car, as you can see, not in front of him. And he has got 21 seconds on Leclerc. So he should be able to get a free stop.
And Leclerc should be able to get a free stop too, as are...
So when Red Bull are leading, the safety car doesn't come out on track and stop effectively and slow right down so that it picks up the leader quite quickly to bunch the field. Oh no, that safety car disappears off around the track, making sure that leader can continue lapping at a reasonable space to maintain the gap so that it can still get in and out of the pits and emerge out of that pit without losing track position. See how that works? There's no way that anything in Formula One can be manipulated, is there?
Some others. Lando Norris.
Safety car gap to stop. We do not gain position if we stay out, so stop this lap.
Yeah, that is a sensible call from Ferrari. Lando Norris stopped.
See, they stopped because they didn't gain a position by staying out. So there's some clever cards by pitting again. We can see on data view here if there's any changes. So we'll see any second now as we're going on to these laps after they've pitted where there's been a change of tyres.
Stopping to, here comes Max Verstappen to make his pit stop. We might yet finish this race behind the safety car. Has anyone stayed out?
We might finish this race behind the safety car. Oh, you weren't saying that in Abu Dhabi 2021 when there was the same amount of time left. Oh, there's bound to be a couple in Abu Dhabi 2021.
I don't think they have. 2.7 seconds stationary for Max Verstappen. A few others are staying out, but behind the leading quartet, Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell and Sainz, who have all pitted. There are 9 lapped cars that need to unlap themselves.
Oh, lapped cars that need to unlap themselves. Oh, I didn't think they had to let them through. Didn't think it was mandatory in the regulations. But that's normally only in Belgium on a wet day, in Tuesday, after you've done your shopping.
Leclerc is now going to pick up, going to pit stop. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, so Charles Leclerc does stop, and that's why it was important for Max Verstappen to keep that 17-second gap in case something like this happens. A free pit stop for both Verstappen and Leclerc. We are seeing a Williams stop as well. De Vries came on the radio saying his brake pedal was going long, Karun, which is Crofty, which is concerning. So let's see what happens. It is possible that the race will not restart. They won't be able to get this all sorted out before the 53 laps.
It's possible that this race won't restart and Lewis Hamilton will become an 8-time world champion, because we heard that so many times during that safety car period in Abu Dhabi, didn't we? Or not at all.
Concludes.
Well, if the safety cars come out, that's good news for Nick de Vries with a long brake pedal, because that's related to temperature, and this will allow the brakes to just cool right back down. So if we do go racing again, and Crofty, it's an excellent point, will we get any racing laps? Let's have a look on the left.
If we do go racing, and that's an excellent point, will we get any racing? Thanks for that excellent point, Karun.
Left-hand side of our screen, where is the McLaren? Looks to have... Oh, no,
it's still there. It's still there.
Stuck in gear.
Yeah, you see, that's going to take some moving, I think. Now, Lewis Hamilton...
So what we're getting so far, if we look down the data view, see these black dots here, indicates we've now changed onto soft compound tyres, or a new set of softs. So there's one. So Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, so that's the top 4. And then we've got Norris and Tsunoda and Latifi and Magnussen have all pitted for fresh soft tyres during that safety car period that's at the end of the race. They've all played their clever cards with their clever strategy. Okay? How did that work out for you? Oh, it was a safety car finish, and therefore all that clever cards and clever strategy resulted in nothing, because the order you see now is the order that they finish as, unless anybody pitted and lost position now, right? Because it was a safety car finish and you can't change position. So it's not clever, is it? It's irrelevant. Going into the pits, making these changes onto soft compounds tyres achieved nothing. They're an irrelevance. It's not clever cards. It's not a clever strategy. It's null and void because racing cannot resume. Okay? But the thing is, Abu Dhabi was actually different. Abu Dhabi was different, and the reason is, we'll have a look. We'll have a look. Let's have a look.
Didn't they? We thought they would be in terrible trouble come the first race.
Oh no! Nicholas Latifi has crashed, and I think that is at turn 14, where we saw Kimi Raikkonen crash in practice. It is at turn 14.
At turn 14, where Kimi Raikkonen practiced crashing there to, do a trial run perhaps, who knows?
And yes, that will be a safety car, because marshals are going to need to recover that Williams and to work on it, and this now completely changes the context of this race if they can clear the Williams in time and we can have a couple of laps racing to the checkered flag.
There's bound to be a couple of...
Oh, a couple of laps racing, and there's bound to be a couple. So lap 53 of 58, yeah? Lap 53 of 58, bound to be a couple there. But when this took place on, it was lap 48 of 53, that one turned out to be a safety car finish, didn't it? How does this work? Who knows? Anyway.
Of course, that's where Max Verstappen's much fresher tyres will fire up.
Who could have predicted that Max Verstappen's much fresher tyres, like his 16-lap-old hard tyres, could fire up, Martin? 16-lap-old hard tyres firing up. Such an advantage that is.
And give him the confidence on any kind of restart. It depends how... there will be, I'm pretty sure, on lap 52, obviously because of the slow pace with 5 to go.
Martin, can't you see it says lap 54? Why are you saying lap 52, Martin?
So that they'll probably have a lap or two, as long as they get it. If they get a vehicle on there and get that out of the way. And Max...
So here, where Lewis Hamilton is on track, the safety car is just picking him up now. Okay, so that didn't happen in Italy, did it? Max was still quite some way behind where that safety car was, so by the time Max made it round to the pits, he hadn't been held back by that safety car, so he'd still got enough of a gap where he could pit. Oh no, not back in Abu Dhabi though. No manipulation on possible there, was there? To make sure that Max stayed in the lead, regardless at the Italian Grand Prix. Doesn't matter about the Italian Grand Prix 2020. Formula One's been fake since 2021 anyway, so everything since is a waste of time talking about. But let's see who played some clever cards. Max Verstappen's coming into the pits. Who else is in the pits? Daniel Ricciardo, a McLaren, playing some clever cards. Indeed, it does look like McLaren are playing some clever cards with their strategy.
Coming into the pits, Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out. Verstappen coming into the pits, and I would imagine there's a set of soft tyres waiting.
What's happened there? Has Daniel Ricciardo moved down a place by pitting? So Daniel Ricciardo's in 11th position. Okay. Remember Sergio Perez retires from the race. So with Perez retiring, if Daniel Ricciardo stays on track, what happens? Oh, Ricciardo gets promoted to 10th. 10th position equals 1 World Championship point. But what's happening?
Out of the way. And Max...
Oh, Daniel Ricciardo's pitting. McLaren are playing their clever cards.
To the pits, Max Verstappen. Hamilton stays out. Verstappen coming into the pits, and I would imagine...
Oh, Leclerc stayed out on track and is moved up to 11th. Daniel Ricciardo dropping to 12th.
There's a set of soft tyres waiting for him to go onto that Red Bull car. Yes, it is.
Oh, Vettel's gone by Ricciardo as Ricciardo's in the pits. All these clever cards don't appear to be being as clever, McLaren. But you'll have the benefit of the soft compound tyre, and we can see how much benefit they give you. Oh, Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin are playing some clever cards.
Negative. Right, so if there is a restart, Verstappen now has fresh soft tyres. Lewis has heavily used hard compound tyres. They will let any lap runners through.
Any lap runners, but not all though, Martin, because any doesn't mean all. It's like a legal document, isn't it? Because legally, you'd like to tell us that any doesn't mean all. But why did you use that word, Martin? Had you been through these documents before? Made sure you got the words right. The correct use of terminology. Thanks for that, Martin. Who else is in the pits? Sergio Perez is playing some clever cards. He's just going to put on a set of fresh soft tyres just to go out on them for a lap before retiring. Or, you know, maybe 2 laps. Who knows?
On the safety car restart. And he will presumably end up... Well, they had nothing to lose. Once again, Red Bull had nothing to lose here.
They had nothing to lose but play their clever cards.
They have nothing to lose. Hamilton is a long way clear as Perez also pits, as we can see, and there's quite a few coming into the pits. Hamilton's a long way clear on the track, but I rather get the feeling by the time he comes around to the main straight, he's not going to be able to pit and stay ahead of Max Verstappen. That chance wasn't there, or as
it wasn't there because the safety car picked him up straight away.
Gone by for Mercedes.
Verstappen tucked up behind Sebastian Vettel.
But it doesn't matter because this incident is going to take 5.5 laps to deal with, and therefore it's going to be a safety car finish. Just like Italy 2022.
Vettel in the Aston Martin there.
But he won't be on the restart.
What restart? That can't happen.
That's unbelievable.
Wow.
So look, we're on lap 54 of 58 here. They've got to clear that debris away, and the fire extinguishers have obviously gone off because the brakes, I'm sure, were getting very, very hot. But they've also got to let the lapped cars unlap themselves.
Indeed, absolutely right, Crofty.
Just at the back of my mind, I wonder if we're going to get any racing laps in this race. Wait and see.
Wait and see.
This is what happened.
What does Fernando think about this? Let's just have a look at Fernando. Where's Fernando? What number's Alonso? I should know. There he is. What are we going to see, Fernando?
Still the double waved yellow.
Still the double wave yellow.
Turn 14 as well.
Smoky. What's going on there? Latifi's car still there. They've just put the fire extinguisher out to put the fire out. What does that mean? Fernando being the most experienced driver on the grid. Might have been Kimi at that stage, but I think he'd retired. So now it's the most experienced is Fernando. What's Fernando got to say about the situation?
Yeah, we should unlap.
We should unlap? We can't unlap yet, Fernando. Nicholas, his car is still there. You know that you can't unlap now. It's not safe. The clerk of the course has to make sure that that incident is cleared up and that the track is swept and safe, and then check the barriers to make sure they're safe too. You know you can't unlap yet, Fernando. What are you talking about, man?
I'll get the job done.
Get this job done? What job? What job are you employed to do, Fernando?
Till they retire the car. Because if not, it's going to be too late.
Till they retire the car? Whose car's being retired? Huh?
Yeah, we should unlap. I'll get the job done until they retire the car.
Until they retire the car? Get this job done until they retire the car.
Because if not, it's going to be too late.
Because if not, it's going to be too late. Nothing suspicious there, is there, Fernando?
Or racing laps, if there are, then...
And then the rear just lets go.
Probably dirty tyres from being offline there. Will we get any more racing laps or not? What jeopardy at the end of this Grand Prix, the end of this World Championship. Will there be any more racing laps? If there are, then Verstappen has got the tyres to really do something with them. Will they let the lap runners through?
Well, they all...
Yes, Martin, because they have to. It's one of the regulations. It's 48.12, saying when the track is declared safe, when it's safe to do so, the message will be given for these cars to unlap themselves, and then the safety car will remain on track for one further lap. Yeah? It'll return to the pits at the end of the following lap. Why are you asking us the question, Martin? I've missed out here that Mick Schumacher, he's changed onto softs too. So Haas, they're also playing some clever cards with clever strategy. Well done to you, Haas. Clever cards, clever strategy. So yeah, this is the strategy calls of world champions.
Always do let the lap runners through, and in between Hamilton and Verstappen, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc and Vettel.
They're not the only lap runners, Crofty. Ricardo, Stroll and Mick Schumacher. See this screen here? You know, I know Martin thinks you've got to do this manually, okay, but this screen's been in existence for years, okay? This computer screen, this data-driven approach, yeah, that's been available to the whole sport for years, so we can identify quite easily. They always do let the lap runners through, and those lap cars, you told us there were 9 of them in Italy, but here, but in between Hamilton and Verstappen, it's Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc and Vettel. You've missed 3 guys out. They still matter too.
Yes, but if they do that, it extends the safety car period.
No, it's not an extension, Martin, right? It just is, okay? The safety car period takes as long as it takes to carry out these procedures. It's not an extension.
But that's what they always do. Take the lap runners out of the way so they're not interfering in play.
That's not the purpose, Crofty. Let's see if anybody else plays some clever cards.
So, situation is, Verstappen has pitted. He had a free pit stop. We would have lost track position to him. 4 laps remaining when you cross the line. So this field has to bunch, and then they have to send lap cars through. So it may not restart.
Is he right behind me?
He will be, once they've sorted out all the order. This is going to take a while to sort out.
It might be one.
With new tyres.
Copy, Lewis. We would have lost track position if we had pitted.
And that was the big key here. Mercedes, for the second time, keeping Lewis Hamilton out, whilst Max Verstappen pitted. Red Bull had nothing to...
And that's not the big key here, Crofty. Let's be clear about this. That's not the big key here. The big key here, the big key is, can this race restart? And the answer became no. And so just like in Italy 2022, where all of these clever cards were played, all of this clever strategy by all of these teams here that are the black dots, where they pitted their cars for fresh soft tyres, and all of it was futile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in Italy 2022 pitted for fresh soft tyres, and yet none of them were able to gain any positions. And why? The big key was the race could not restart, because the regulations dictated that you couldn't restart that race. Hence, it was a safety car finish. So, they weren't clever cards, were they? There was nothing clever about that, and it was not the big key as to what tyres they were on. The big key was that the regulations dictate that the race can't resume. That is the big key. So what's the big key? Oh, that's the big key here, is that Red Bull were able to pit, but Mercedes couldn't. No, that's not the big key. The big key is, can the race restart? And the answer's no. The answer's no.
To lose, Hamilton potentially losing track position, and in this case, if we don't go racing again because you can't overtake under the safety car, he would have lost the World Championship.
So we've got Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull B team. He's played some clever cards. And now we've got Pierre Gasly in the Red Bull B team, also playing his clever cards. So let's carry this on.
Is there a vehicle pulling the...
And Crofty was telling us, the big key here was, had he have pitted and lost track position, then he'd have lost the World Championship. Well, that didn't happen, Crofty. He didn't pit, he didn't lose track position, and it should be a safety car finish. So what does that make him? World champion. You didn't say that though, did you, Crofty?
Losing track position, and in this case, if we don't go racing again because you can't overtake under the safety car, he would have...
If we don't go racing again because you can't overtake during the safety car, yep, what's going to happen? If we don't go racing again because you can't overtake during the safety car, what's going to happen, Crofty?
Lost the World Championship.
No, he'd have won the World Championship, Crofty. Okay? So,
is there a vehicle pulling the Williams out of the way or not yet?
Can't see it at the moment. Ted down.
You can't see. You couldn't see a lot, guys, could you? You couldn't see a lot. Whoa, how long will we wait? I mean, indeed, are there even any marshals on the track? We think the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, and there will be one racing lap. Indeed, we think the safety car will be coming in this lap. We think it could do, should do. Are there any marshals still on the track, still clearing it up? None of this makes sense, guys. None of it makes sense. It's not congruent with reality. Oh, Pierre Gasly's still in the pit.
To you. Yeah, have a load of other people pitting. Yuki Tsunoda, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo. We've had Lance Stroll as well into the pits. I'll give you those orders as they shake out. But yeah, it was just bad luck. I mean, you saw the Mercedes mechanics just hanging around.
It was just bad luck. So, let's see who played some clever cards, who made this amazing strategy calls in Abu Dhabi. So, Red Bull, Max Verstappen, they played some clever cards, making an amazing strategy call to put Max onto fresh softs. Okay, Perez of Red Bull made this amazing strategy call to pit Perez onto softs, but then they threw that away by retiring Perez. Red Bull B team made an amazing strategy call by pitting Tsunoda onto softs. And they also did the same with Gasly. Now, both of those two cars, AlphaTauris here, that are significantly slower than the Red Bulls, both of those cars on fresh tyres were able to overtake Bottas, who was on 24-lap-old hard tyres at that stage. Okay, and Mercedes on 24-lap-old hard tyres, two AlphaTauris were able to get by him. Not only that, they'd actually have to pass Mick Schumacher first, okay, and Gasly, with being 2 cars back from Bottas, got past Bottas. That's the performance differential of that tyre. Bearing in mind the AlphaTauri is a much weaker car. That's significant. So Red Bull were able to gain places on that illegal lap that should never have taken place. This so-called clever strategy. Red Bull B team, them cars were able to overtake and gain positions on that illegal last lap. Daniel Ricciardo pitted for fresh softs, was in 11th position at the time of pitting. When Perez retired, would have been promoted to 10th had he not have pitted, and would have gained 1 World Championship point, but didn't, because he now, having gone on to fresh tyres, lost 2 positions, is now in 13th, and then wasn't allowed to race. Because the cars in front of him, which are Vettel, Leclerc, Ocon, Alonso and Norris, they were the 5 cars that were chosen to be released. Those cars were at turn 5 by the time it was, oh, and it's ending, wow! Well, they weren't at turn 5 when we got, and it's ending, wow. They were actually going round turn 9 on lap 57. But by the time Lewis crossed that start-finish line to begin that illegal lap 58, those 5 released cars were at turn 5. Daniel Ricciardo was held back to keep Carlos Sainz at bay, so that 3rd place would be held back, enabling Max a free run at Lewis. So McLaren's clever cards, their clever strategy couldn't work. They didn't get to use their fresh tyres to race with. Daniel Ricciardo finished 13th. Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, they played their clever cards as well. So they could potentially have raced Daniel Ricciardo, but could they? Because they actually weren't on the lead lap. They hadn't been released, and therefore lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. Well, if you've been lapped, are you not allowed to overtake? Who knows? That's not a regulation, is it? But that announcement was given. So does that mean between now and the end of the race, lapped cars are not allowed to overtake. Oh, it's only the 5 that we selected that are allowed to overtake. But at what point in time are they allowed to overtake? Are they allowed to overtake each other on that lap that they're supposed to be unlapping themselves? Is it only because that was lap 57 for them? Even though they're, you know, a third of the lap up the road from the leaders that are now starting their lap 58, are them release cars allowed to begin to overtake one another, or have they got to wait all the way around till they get to cross the start-finish line to begin their lap 58 before they can overtake? Oh, who knows? Who knows? It's all a minefield. Why is it a minefield? Because none of it's in the rules. You've made it all up. Oh, and Mick Schumacher with the Haas team. Were they allowed to gain the advantage from playing their clever cards and gain position as well by racing? Oh, no. Mick couldn't challenge Lance because in between him and Lance Stroll, there was, well, which one was that? Was that Bottas? Yeah, I think it was Bottas was in between him and Lance Stroll. So, you know, this was the situation. Red Bull were able to take advantage of playing their clever cards. The Red Bull B team was able to take advantage of playing their clever cards. McLaren weren't able to, but they never protested about that. Aston Martin weren't able to, but they never protested about that. Haas weren't able to, but they never protested about that. But Red Bull, they played some clever cards, didn't they? They played some clever cards, even though we saw changing on to tyres is futile at a point in time where there can be no more racing.
Fair, but then Red Bull played some clever cards with their strategy.
Thanks for that, Martin. Thanks for that.